the jibber jabber. Don't be babbling like a fool. Say what you got to say. That's all. Then shut your dang pie hole.
Well, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel and a discussion of all things SHTF. You bet, folks, coronal mass ejection. We've heard that, have we not? We've been, and I've covered it, we've been warning about it, the potentials of it, right? You go back to the Carrington event of the 1800s, very dangerous stuff, right? The sun showers the earth after a coronal mass ejection, an explosion of sunspots that sends a bunch of charged electrons to Earth, smacks the Earth, right? Screws up satellites or power grid. The potential is there. Well, I tell you what, they're going to continue to try and use that to, 1, distract us, 2, scare us, and 3, make excuses for their failures. It's always an excuse. I'm sure they would blame Russia for this one. Russia sent a nuclear weapon to the sun and it caused this. I'm sure they would love to say that. Okay. Now, we used to get winter storms and then blizzard warning, and then we got the polar vortex. It's like, you mean, I missed that day in school, I guess, where they taught that instead of calling it a winter storm or an Arctic storm, it was a polar vortex. And that wasn't good enough. It was time for the bomb cyclone. It's like, both the word bomb and cyclone don't have anything to do with snow. But that's what they're calling snowstorms now, bomb cyclones, trying to scare us. Well, instead of just regular CMEs, coronal mass ejections, now we have a cannibal mass ejection. What? Yes, folks, the cannibal coronal mass ejection. It was detected by NASA. It will hit Earth tonight. No, wait a minute. It was last night. We're still here. Apparently, we haven't been cannibalized. And, wait. Yeah, we're still here. Now, at least let me explain what a cannibal coronal mass ejection is. Several CMEs going off at once on the sun. Several CMEs, coronal mass ejections, aimed at Earth. And if we get hit by several of them, it's called a cannibal coronal mass ejection. Well, cannibal usually means eating your own kind. This would be the sun eating us. Anyways, this is what we can come to expect from the news, folks. Everything is sensationalized to control you. Now, do I do that? Do I sensationalize everything? Or do we discuss reality, facts, and the potentials in an intelligent, thoughtful, and guided manner? Well, I like to pretend that's what I do, because really, there's no panic. I don't hear anyone screaming and yelling. Cats and dogs are not living together. Everything's, well in hand. Understanding what's going on. Now, NATO, this guy named Stoltenberg, one of their, mouthpieces, he says some things about Russia. He is sensationalizing and trying to scare the world into thinking that Russia is going to continue and expand. He says Russia's not withdrawing, but they're regrouping and they're not negotiating in good faith. Now, number one, why should Russia negotiate in good faith? Zelensky, after all, remember, he's the little Nazi guy. He's the one that violated the Donbass peace agreement. He's the one who was part of the military coup d'etat that took over Ukraine way back in 2014. He is the troublemaker, and he has lied repeatedly, and he serves, oligarchs and the World Economic Forum, their political and, yes, money interests. So why shouldn't Russia negotiate in good faith? Or should they negotiate to their benefit? After all, they are the winners, are they not? They're the ones winning. And when you win, you get to make the rules. And when you win, you get to write the peace agreement. So yeah, I think they are negotiating in their own good faith. Now, again, I'm not a Russian sycophant, a Putin lover, but when you see someone playing a good game of chess, do you say, that guy's a jerk, I hate him, and not learn anything from the moves he makes and the way he plays? Of course, right? The intelligent mind always learns from an opponent that is really good at what they do. At the very least, you learn their techniques so that next time you are confronted with it, you come to better conclusions. And if you're an actual player at the board, which of course we little people are not, you might even be able to beat him. Right? But you can always recognize greatness, folks, whether it's on your side or the other. Accept that it exists and do what you can to combat it. In my case, in your case, we are little preppers, just little patriotic Americans who have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, and a means of self-defense, because hard times are coming. From a coronal mass ejection or a bomb cyclone, look out. Or Russia's not withdrawing, those evil bastards. Of course they're regrouping. They've defeated certain cities of Zelensky's, the military, right? And of course, the Ukraine military is not doing anything untoward, putting their military forces in civilian areas so that in order to defeat them, Russia can be accused of attacking civilian areas, when in fact they're taking out military targets. And the civilian collateral damage is the fault of Zelensky for using his people, that's women and children, folks, not to mention kittens and puppies, as human and fuzzy shields. Yes, I'm a smart ass. That's part of my satire. It's part of my charm. But yeah, here we go, folks. They don't like what's going on because they're losing. You know, in the next 4 minutes, I think I can wrap this up. 4 more minutes of what the hell is going on, right? Listen to this, folks. Listen to this NATO guy. According to our intelligence, yeah, that's a good thing to claim to have. And according to our intelligence, Russian units are not withdrawing, but repositioning Russia. Russia is trying to regroup, resupply, and reinforce its offensive in the Donbass region. Well, do you believe that? Right? He goes on to say, at the same time, Russia maintains pressure on Kiev and other cities so we can expect additional offensive actions, bringing even more suffering. All that has to happen is Zelensky surrenders unconditionally, and Russia will come to terms with them. Right? Now, if Russia were to put undue pressure and undue terms in the peace accord, right, Kiev, or rather Zelensky, couldn't live up to them, and it would fail, creating more work, more trouble, more headaches, and more bad public exposure for Russia, not to mention having to bring their military in again. So Russia, an intelligent Russia, remember we're talking about an intelligent chess player here, an intelligent Russia would do this very thing. They would come to peace after Zelensky admits defeat. They would come to peace, and they would put a reasonable, intelligent, and livable set of rules in front of Zelensky and Ukraine so that they wouldn't have to come back in and fight again and expose the world to all this baloney and bullshit and this big energy crisis and all the chest beating and huffing and puffing coming from the West. Right? NATO countries are claiming they're going to continue to resupply Ukraine's military with weaponry. That is not going to help the situation. It's not going to help us get peace. It's not going to help in any way except to continue, and it's going to continue to provoke and antagonize Putin. Now, this is what the NATO guy says, right? Quote, we have no real change in the real Russian objective, right? They continue to pursue a military outcome, right? But he said, we have no real change. Yeah, there is no real change in NATO and everyone else. They want Ukraine. They would love it to become a NATO country. And of course, the World Economic Forum and the big corporations would love to continue, shall we say, to plunder and pillage the wealth resources right on Russia's doorstep. So don't expect this to end anytime soon, folks. But expect Russia to continue to make strategic moves. And they will ultimately end up winning this, and you and I will ultimately end up paying for it. So I recommend getting prepared. And watch out for that bomb cyclone or coronal mass ejection. Keep focused on what is real, folks, and in front of us, and what we can really do to help ourselves, right? Contact your political leaders and tell them to do the right things, and get prepared. Because chance favors the prepared mind. It is yours. Semper Fi, Godspeed.